back to the channel. Welcome back to my Gig-Olos and Gigolettes. It's me, Gio. Y'all know who the fuck it is. Alrighty. I'm going to talk about my 9-task day on a snow day here in Chicago. Some freebie advice for those of you who have the snow removal category turned on. How I fucked up and how I potentially could have done more. I really could have. So, I mean, this only really applies to those of you who are taskers if you know how the app works. I got my first task. The person booked me around, I want to say around 7 p.m. on Monday night. And they requested it for first in the morning, 8, because you can't book before 8 a.m., right? So I asked them if I could be there early because I knew it was going to be busy, and they said that's fine. And they said I was doing 2 different addresses, right? Theirs and a friend's house. So I did that one, and then, as you guys know, you guys can you can move your availability even if you have a task at that time. So I moved my availability back to 8 a.m. And then I got another task for snow removal, and I was only 5 minutes away from the first one. And that one was for 8 a.m. The plan was to potentially knock out both of those before 7 or 8 a.m. Oh, hold on a second. Sorry about that, that was spicy. All right, so yeah, so I had 2 tasks booked early in the morning. I left my place about 5:05 a.m. Warmed up the car, and I was on my way to my first job. And then I got hired for my third job. It said for 8:45 a.m. And the client immediately messaged me and asked me if I could do 7:45 or 7. And I said I got 2 jobs back to back right now. Earliest is 7:45. The client said, okay, that's fine. So I make my way to the first one. I do the 2 houses, and we'll go back to that in a minute. And then, so I finish that one, take pictures, leave. And this is the piece of, this is why I'm telling you guys this, because snow removal is a job that essentially requires no client interaction. You don't have to meet with the client. You don't really have to, you don't have to talk with them or explain anything. It's kind of like, okay, this is my driveway, get a shovel, So that's why I was able to kind of move around my availability the way I did, So I finished the first job, so we'll go back to that. Go to the second job. The second job was they wanted me to shovel the front sidewalk, the steps, the porch, and the back leading to the garage. And then I want to get to the front takes 15 minutes with the stairs. I want to go around the back, but the gate's locked. So I'm like, okay, it's only 6:40 at this point. I'll go do the job and come back because I don't want to call the client while they're asleep, right? So I go to the third job, and then the client, so as I'm finishing that one up, the client asked me to go do it. I guess she was a manager for these daycare schools or something. So she's like, can you go do my other school right now? And I'm like, yeah, fine. So I finished the third one, make my way to the fourth one, which is another school, and the front is already shoveled. So I messaged her and I'm like, hey, looks like it's already done. So I go back to the second one, call the client, and he's like, oh, it's not locked, there's a latch. And then I'm like, and the latch was covered in snow. So I'm like, okay, great. So I flip the latch, I finish it. As I'm finishing that one, the client from the first job, I know this is a little confusing. The client from the first job is messaging me and said, thanks, can you come back at 4? And I said, yeah. And then they said, make sure you do this address. And I'm like, thinking to myself, didn't I do that address this morning? Turns out I shoveled, so both addresses were on the same street, right? But the one I was supposed to do was 2 blocks away, and I was uncaffeinated and I didn't fucking know. So I'm like, okay. So I was only 5 minutes away from that one. I go back to do that address, and then something unfortunate happened. My $30 collapsible shovel on Amazon decided to break in half. I just got hired for something. Great. Halfway through the job, so I think that's why my lower back is all fucked up, because for maybe 10 minutes I'm shoveling with just the shovel part of the shovel, no handle, bending over at end range, and then I noticed the client had a green shovel tucked behind their trash. Started using that one, so I was shoveling all their stuff with their shovel. I finish up, I call the client. I got hired for a job at 9:30. At this point, it's like 9 a.m. on the dot. So I'm already starting to fall behind. I call the client that I'm doing, where I'm using their shovel, and I say, hey, I can come back at 4 p.m., no problem. I need a favor though. And they're like, what's up? I was like, my shovel just broke in half. Can I use yours and bring it back? And they said, that's fine. So I'm like, yes. So I go back to the second school. They asked me to shovel the back and the playground area. That took about an hour. Did that, made my way to my 5th snow removal job, which I was an hour and a half late for. That was probably the easiest one. Took 15-20 minutes. Actually, no, the first school was the easiest one. This is the second easiest one. I knocked that one out, and then I have to go to another one that was booked for 1 p.m. At this point, it was about 11:40. So I moved my availability up to 1. On the way there, I got hired for another job at 1:30. So I knock out the original 1:30 job in a little less than an hour, make my way to the other job, knock that one out. At this point, I completely, after my 7th job, I was out of salt. So knock out the 7th job, go to the 8th job, which was the first job. That took about 35 minutes. They asked me to throw something out for them. I did that. And then I had to travel about 20 minutes north to my last job of the day. And that was the greatest motherfucker on the planet. It was a sidewalk. The path leading to the front door, and a 160-foot driveway in what seemed like anywhere from 6 to 8 inches of dense snow. And without a break, literally without a break, I did all of it. 100% of the job I did by myself. Like, it took so long. It hurt to walk yesterday. It really did. By the time I was done, it's still like my lower back and my limbs are still super tight right now. But the cool thing about yesterday is what I learned. Like, this is something I can give back to the gig workers that do task grab and do snow removal. Is yesterday, while the last job was hard, and while I was physically tired at the end of the day, I was tired before the last job. None of the jobs took an hour. You get to invoice an hour, but none of them really took an hour until the last one. But I think if I would have played it a little bit differently, if I was more meticulous with checking the addresses for the first job, because that was my fuck up, and if the client would have told me there was a latch going to the fuck is that? If there was a latch going to the to the backyard for the second job, then I could have essentially knocked out my first 2 jobs by 7 a.m. in an hour and 20 minutes. And that means I would have knocked out my 3rd job by 7:30, and that would have been 3 hours of invoiced in 2.5 hours total. So if I was, because like at one point they were just flying in one after another. So if like I said, if I was a little bit more meticulous, if I was a little bit more careful, and I lucked out and the client gave me all the necessary info for the second job, then yeah, I would have, I could have maybe done 10 yesterday, because I did have a 2-hour gap between my 7th and 8th job. So that would have been plenty of time to knock out one more job. But the thing is, like, you know, I wasn't looking at my availability, because a lot of clients, like 3 of the clients yesterday, when they booked me, the job said 1.5 to 2 hours, and most of them took like 35-40 minutes. You know, the only job that was accurate in their booking information was the one that said 2 to 3 hours, and it took 2.5 with a shovel. And it would have taken 3, but luckily the next door neighbor had a snowblower, and they took care of the sidewalk for me. I don't know if they saw the fucking strain on my face or what, but yeah, I mean, that could have been yeah, I was hurting yesterday, and I'm still hurting today, and I'll probably be hurting tomorrow. And that's the result of invoicing 10.5 hours of snow removal. So, all right, guys, that's all I got for this one. I want to thank you all for watching. Everyone, please stay safe, stay driven, stay healthy, stay classy.